It's Mickey Spagnola, a guy I know is not superstitious. He's totally stitious. Mickey, is the training staff overworked today?
Yes, they were. So were the doctors too, by the way. It was strange because they were supposed to start off in pads and then transition to shells for the rest of the practice. And a bunch of the players said, no, we need to work in the pads. And then they proceeded to have 3 injuries take place. One to Jake Ferguson, ended up with a back. He got sideswiped by Kenneth Murray, and he went down. Now they walked him off, so they were going to examine the back and be very careful. Jayden Blue, the rookie running back, got basically somewhat thrown to the ground by Sam Williams from his face mask, and he sprained an ankle. And then Dakota Shepley left with a sprained ankle also. So the last thing they needed, well, you don't want to lose Jake Ferguson for any reason, but with the injuries at the running back position, and chances are Javonte Williams is not going to play on Saturday in the first preseason game. They're getting low on running backs. If Williams is not playing, Sanders is hurt. He's not playing. Now Blue's probably out. And Deuce just got back into practice after missing a week. So they're going to be short on running backs when they get to the game on Saturday.
Yeah, Phil Maffa.
Yes,
it's your shot, buddy. Hope you're feeling in shape, because you're going to get
he and Hunter Luepke. Yeah.
Oh, look, I'm all for Mickey. I'm a big Hunter Luepke fan, so
yes.
I'm all for seeing him getting number 1 reps at running back. I'm whatever. I'm a fullback champion. So the more Hunter Luepke we get in our lives, I think the better.
Well, Paul, not only is he playing fullback, he's playing sometimes in the nickel as a 1-back, and not just to protect. They're actually handing him the ball. And as he said, if I need to play tight end, I'll play tight end. Well, they put him at tight end, or at least lined him up like a tight end too. So, yeah, he's the Swiss Army knife.
Didn't they do that when Herschel Walker came back with him, where they kind of lined him up all over the field? Like when he came back, I don't want to say he played at tight end, but they would line him up and put him in motion and things like that to see if they could get something out of, whatever else was left in Herschel's tank.
Yeah. And there wasn't much left at that point. But yeah, he was somewhat of a high paid decoy, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. He came back to try to get that Super Bowl ring that was because of him anyway. But anyway, Mickey, so the Micah Parsons thing continues to drag on, and it's maybe a little bit unique in that Mike has been much more verbal, at least until today, about this than most would. Do you think that this is, again, we've seen this for years, Emmitt Smith, all this, the Cowboys always get this worked out. There's never really been times when they haven't, with a player that they will, and this is just a bump in the road, or is this one feel any different to you?
No, I think we've seen it before, and we'll see it again when it comes to negotiations. And, what people need to understand, it takes 2 to tango, right? The Cowboys could want to sign him. We haven't heard much of how much they want to sign for. And as Jerry said the other day, we could have had this done in March. And then they upped the ante. And so, yeah. And he wasn't on the practice field today. He's been on the practice field, in basically jersey and, sweatpants and things like that. One day he was even walking around with his helmet, but he was not on the field today. So I don't know if something was brewing, or he decided he's going to up the ante. But as Stephen Jones said, we're not trading him. He can ask until he's blue in the face. He ain't going anywhere because he's under contract. So again, here's the bottom line. Guys don't miss paychecks, right? And he's guaranteed $21 million. So do the math. If you divide that by 18, that's over $1 million a game or a week for 18 weeks. He's not passing that up. So something will give at some point. But here's the other part of this. He's probably, and I've been told, going to need 2 weeks to get ready to play. He hadn't been in pads since January 5th. They're not going to just send him out there like they sent Michael out there in 92, 4 days after he signed before the first game. I just don't see that's happening. So, if he doesn't get signed, like when they get back to the start, there's a good chance he could miss the first game, or at least not be available for the first game at their own choice, because they'll still have 16 more games to play. And the last thing you want to do is get a guy hurt because he hasn't been playing football, and then he's going to miss another month.
Yeah. This one, it's just the other thing I would tell, I had some people ask me, like, who would trade for him? I'm like, look, I'm sure there'd be a lot of teams that would call, because, why wouldn't you call if the best pass rusher in the league is available? But the ask for it, if the Cowboys were even considering it, I don't know a team in the league that would do it for what he's really worth, for them to make it worth their while, because this is a dude who's at least 2 first-round picks to, start the conversation. It's 2 first-round picks minimum before you even get into anything else.
Paul, 2 first-round picks next year. And as far as we could tell, there's only 2 teams that have that. I believe it's Cleveland and maybe the Jets. Yeah. And Cleveland's already paying a defensive end a whole heck of a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
But that's where I start, 2 first-round picks next year. I don't want 1 and 1. No, I want a starter too, by the way, in exchange. So that's not going to happen. And
there's not a – it's not even
if
practical.
Anybody's going to trade for him, they got to give up, a boatload, and they're going to have to pay him. He's not going to go to another team and play for the 5th-year option, right? So that team's going to say, well, I'm minimizing how much I give you because I'm going to have to pay him this amount of money. Well, he's not taking the Cowboys off their hands because they're already absorbing his $21 million into the cap right now. So it's not like they're doing him a favor. So that's not going anywhere. And I think, I don't know if I've told you this story. I know I've told David this, but back in the day when I worked with Frank Lux, a esteemed columnist for the Dallas Times-Herald, and I was new to these contracts, and you get all fired up and this and that, and Frank would go, you know what this is like? This is like being in the neighborhood and a cat gets stuck up in the tree and everybody gets worried. They're calling the police and the fire department. We got to get the cat down. And he said, the bottom line is, have you ever seen a dead cat in a tree? They always come down. And players always sign. And I remember that all these years later, and that's usually the truth. At least for the Cowboys, they always have their guys, or the guys always sign in the end.
Yeah, they do. And look, this one is taken up a notch. It reminds me, I would say the most comp one would be Emmett, right? This is kind of like Emmett when he held out.
Which time he held out? He held out twice.
Yeah. But I would say
he missed all his rookie training camp.
Yeah.
And didn't sign until the Tuesday before the season opener. And then the next time he did miss 2 games, but eventually got signed. Ezekiel Elliott missed all of training camp and signed the week of the opener and ended up playing 13 plays. But that's a running back and a wide receiver. It's not a defensive end trying to beat some 320-pound offensive lineman to get to the quarterback. And that's makes you susceptible to injuries.